case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barreiro's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
5:01 and the sun's not down. Days are getting longer. Before we know it, it'll be balmy. I'll be complaining about the humidity. It's only a matter of time. Guardsy will be back for the top 5 at 5, we think, tomorrow. Is that correct?
I think so.
That's the plan. And for Friday as well, we certainly hope. Brett Blakemore is back in that chair today. What do you have?
It's only a matter of time until my glove tan comes back, and I'll be able to swing the clubs.
There you go. Yeah.
Wait.
It's just, very close.
Time now for the obligatory Kevin Fallness Minnesota Wild mention.
Now, today should have been a day where I didn't have to open with the Wild, because this show opened with the Wild with a rousing, not historic, but rousing victory against the Blackhawks at home. 4-3. They're down 3-0. They come all the way back. They score with 2 minutes left, empty net, and then seal it in the shootout despite killing 5 penalties in the game.
Count them.
Typically, you don't want to be in the box and give up 5 power plays, but if you have a penalty kill that plays like that, I guess you can afford to do it. So, good win for the Wild. They are now tied for the second most points in the entire NHL with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Of course, they're still 9 points behind Colorado, but 1 point ahead for now. They have a game in hand against the Dallas Stars. So, good win for the Wild. They'll be back in action tomorrow against the Flames.
Are you, I doubt you're old enough to know the Chicago Blackhawks fight song. Have you ever heard it?
Thankfully, I don't. I hear Chelsea Dagger a lot.
Have you heard of it?
No. You think it's in the system?
Look for it. My guess is it's not. This goes like back to my childhood. I think this goes back to like the late 60s. I think it was called Here Come the Hawks. Here come the Hawks, the mighty Black Hawks. Take the attack, yeah, and we'll back you, Black Hawks. I mean, it's a brilliant fight song. Goes way, way back. Very emotional song. Is it in the system?
I don't think so.
Damn it. Well, I guess there's not a lot of reason it would come up because this isn't a Blackhawks town.
Yeah.
I find it very rousing. I find it one of the better. We don't really have, because our song is an instrumental, right?
What do you mean?
The Wild, like that fight song that we do, the music. You've played it.
Well, not the one. Not the state of hockey anthem.
Are there words to that?
Oh, yeah.
There are?
Do you take your knocks in the penalty box? And
what's the thing I hear that's more instrumental? Oh, this is it. Oh, yeah, you're right. What am I talking about?
I'm trying to think of what you're thinking of.
And this does have lyrics. Is it coming up? Are they coming up?
I think so.
We were raised with a stick and a pair of blades on the ice.
It's okay. Here Come the Hawks is more upbeat, though. It feels like you can see the Golden Jet, Bobby Hull, on a breakaway. I mean, it's just, you could feel it. And Here Come the Blackhawks. That one's kind of too sedate for me. Don't you think it's a little too laid back?
I think once you get to the chorus, once you get to the big hook, there's nothing like it. So anyways, good win for Wild. We love that. Wallstedt locked in, and he played terrific after mentally focusing up in the second period, and so did everyone else.
Yeah.
So despite all the penalties and nonsense. Your Wolves, kind of in the opposite direction. We've mentioned before that the last game against the Warriors, non-factor. They play again today. You'll hear it on the Timberwolves channel, iHeartRadio.
Well, they did win. They won the last one.
They did win.
The game was terrible, but they needed to bust. They'd lost 5 in a row. So you take the victory however you can get it. But now we got Dallas tonight, right? In Dallas?
That is correct.
And then we come back here for a schedule loss against Oklahoma City Thunder tomorrow night, the game you're going to, correct?
If I'm going, I hope the schedule loss is tonight, as far as if we have to pick one. But yeah, if you've got Fabian in St. Paul, correspondent for the Beast, saying he'd rather watch Meat Sauce play badminton, that's how you know the game was not worth mentioning.
That's pretty much, that's fairly accurate, I must say. That captures it.
Speaking of Wolves kind of angles, We mentioned the Shams bomb earlier today during 9 to noon. Giannis is officially saying, I'm out. He's tapping out. I'm getting booed on my home court. I'm ready to leave. So I found a potential, this is from StatsMuse, the package that the Timberwolves could put together for Giannis.
Oh, my God. Okay.
And this does take cap into effect, so it would even out. The Timberwolves would acquire Giannis Antetokounmpo, Taurean Prince, for Julius Randle, Jaden McDaniels, and Rob Dillingham. It's a lot to give up. We like Jaden McDaniels. We like saying the bit, and we have Jaden McDaniels.
Oh, man.
But
you'd have to, I mean, again, that's the thing. You'd have to do it. What fascinates me about that, again, is you are remaking your team on the fly.
Yep.
So you have to decide how, the degree to which you're willing to gut your club and whether you think at the end of it you're going to be on top of it. Giannis still isn't that old, is he? I don't think he's that old.
I think he's 31.
He's got some mileage. He's starting to get mileage on him. He's getting hurt more. I think the front runner is the Knicks, right? I think the Knicks. I think Miami's going to be very aggressive as well.
Sinekin was saying Houston earlier today.
Houston, name's come up too. Yeah, Houston has come up as well. The wild instrumental you're thinking of is "Crowd Chant" by Joe Satriani.
Oh,
is that what I'm thinking?
Well, that's the old goal song, and that was elite. They should bring that back. I've said that many times.
Is that a Wild song, or was that a North Star song? Or neither?
I mean, it was a Joe Satriani song that the Wild commandeered as their goal song. They did it first. The Islanders then kind of copied them.
Okay, yeah.
Some people forget that.
I don't want to get too far away from what you were discussing, because that's a big fish. Giannis is a big fish. Huge. I think everybody is going to be willing. I'll put it this way. You're not a good general manager if you do not vet all of the possibilities. Doesn't mean you have to do anything with him to try to get him. Doesn't even mean you're going to have a chance to get him. But he's a big enough name that it's your job to look into that possibility, because he's that good of a player. And you can make the argument that if you put Anthony Edwards together with Giannis, that's a pretty top flight 1-2 punch, right? Obviously, that's better than previous 1-2 punches where it was Edwards and Cat, or Edwards and, I guess you'd say, Julius Randle. You're giving up a great defensive player in the interim, but I don't know. We'll have to take that under advisement. I don't think you should hold your breath that he's coming here, but I think you have to absolutely do your due diligence.
You're thinking of this?
Yeah, maybe I was.
Yeah, that's when they used to score goals.
Yeah.
And now they do shout, which is not nearly as good. So we've talked ad nauseum about Bill Belichick not getting in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
But there's another name that people are throwing around that are a little upset that he didn't make it in the Hall of Fame. Even though I think he's got a 500 record as a quarterback, but he won a Super Bowl. Eli Manning, not in the Hall of Fame.
Yes, I did see that too.
The stats are, he's 11th all-time in yards and touchdowns. That's pretty good. 21st in passing yards per game.
Probably most people realize.
Yeah. But you've never Eli, what a flashy name. What a Hall of Famer.
No, the interesting debate on Eli is you feel like a lot of it has been pretty pedestrian, and then yet, obviously, it's hard to argue with what he's done in the postseason when he's had the opportunity. We've just not seen the same consistency from him. So I don't know. I'm not sure I believe Eli Manning is a Hall of Fame quarterback, even though he's been very clutch at some very important times. I'd have to do a deeper dive into some of his numbers and comparisons to some other quarterbacks who might be in the Hall. I will say this. He's made another life for himself, just like his brother, right? He's in a million commercials, and he's the more unlikely of the two, right? Because you think, Peyton's pretty gregarious. We're pretty used to seeing him out front. But then now the two of them together doing their broadcast on Monday night for a lot of games have been very effective. And who would ever thought Eli Manning would be, like I said, a commercial barker? I never saw that coming, and he's become pretty big and effective there too.
I've always said I love, if my team's not in it, I like watching the Manning cast. I think it's entertaining.
Well, yeah, it's very entertaining. What you have to, I guess, decide is can you elect someone to the Hall of Fame on the basis of 2 Super Bowls, winning 2 Super Bowls? Is that enough in of itself? You say, well, the other numbers, as long as they're good, they don't have to be great because look at what he did in the ultimate game. That I think that's largely what it comes down to.
Yeah, tend to agree. The Fan wants to give you a shot to win bonus bucks National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com. Keyword this hour is credits. Keyword credits, KFAN.com, keyword credit.
Julius, this is from Papa Taco. Julius to the Bucks, Jaden and Rudy to the Knicks. Bucks get first rounders from Minnesota and the Knicks. Wolves get the Greek Freak and Karl Anthony Towns. Bring him home. That's pretty dramatic right there. You get Cat back, where he'd probably be delighted based on the fact that he's public enemy number 1 in New York, and you reunite him with Ant, and you add Greek as well. I'm not sure all the numbers work there, by the way, because he's got a big contract that is about to kick in, and I got to believe that means then you get your second apron material as well. Let's make this our 5:12 pause. Don't forget Kessler at the bottom of the hour. Lots to get to with him. And we'll get to a couple of other texts as well. Stay tuned.
One teacher who believed in us. Well, you can show your gratitude with Thank a Teacher. It's powered by Donors Choose. Nominate a public school teacher to win $5,000 to their classroom. This week, the winner is Tyler Halverson, teaches at Independence Elementary School. Nominate a teacher today. iHeartRadio.com/teachers. iHeartRadio.com/teachers. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, a lot of A-section stuff that we will discuss with him. If you have questions or comments, hit the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line, and that number, as always, is 64686. We spent, as you mentioned, sometime yesterday, as Brett Blakemore mentioned, discussing the breaking news a day ago that Bill Belichick did not make the cut as a first ballot Hall of Famer. The outrage from Pitchfork Nation has been steadfast and overwhelming and a bit, shall we say, hyperbolic at times, even if on the face of it, it doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense given his unprecedented success. But it has continued today. It's in some cases been intensified, although if you follow the story that has been laid out by several publications, some of it has to do with this, to me, kind of arcane change to how the selection process goes and how you're coupled with a senior entrant and then a contributor entrant as well. I've read 2 or 3 versions of it. I'm still not sure I understand it, but it does seem to increase the likelihood that something goofy like this could happen. But I'll say again that, I think we talk about, you shouldn't be afraid to publicly pronounce your vote, especially if you don't vote for him. And why are, voters not willing to step forward? And I would again simply say, have you been paying any attention to the world in which we live? Now, in a perfect world, you say, I don't care. Well, I'll stand behind my vote. Not ashamed of it. And I'll give you reasons why. But I think if the belief, because I've heard this from a bunch of people in my business,
It's, by God, all the votes should be public. You should be able to stand behind your vote. If we mean it, then we can't continually send out the notion that if we find out who did this, we're going to destroy him. We're going to demand that his credentials be revoked. We're going to mock him. We're going to ridicule him endlessly. I can't imagine a less persuasive way to encourage people who are kind of wondering, all right, should I go forward and pronounce exactly why I did what I did or not? The climate we've created is so chilling that I think it discourages. I can't blame those who say, it's my vote. I am not required by the way the system works to reveal it, so I'm not going to reveal it. Because I feel like, I'm going to have to run for the hills if I do. Now, the part of the story I didn't get to with Abbott, no, that's Chad Abbott's program director, Seifert, is the Bill Polian part. Because Polian, the rumor was, I think we quoted that yesterday, was that supposedly Polian was the guy who was sort of trying to, throw hot water in the idea of him being a first ballot guy, Belichick being a first ballot guy. Then Polian gets contacted, and he says, no, not a chance, and I voted for him. And then I saw a quote either later last night or earlier today where he seems to be Sarwanga-ing, backpedaling from that original comment and saying, oh, I think I voted for him. So I don't know what to make of the Polian factor. I don't know if there's history there or bad blood. I'm not sure. And, we can debate endlessly whether the perceived crimes that he committed regarding Spygate are worthy of discussion this many years later. And I'll say again to that, I think reasonable people can disagree. Because you can say, as some have, well, the body of work is so extraordinary that does anybody think that if he didn't do the Spygate thing that he wouldn't have been a Hall of Fame level coach? Well, most people probably assume he would be anyway. But I can't separate that from his resume if that's what the league determined. They investigated, and they punished the organization and Belichick pretty significantly. So if there's a voter out there who said, I get it, I'm playing a symbolic game because I know he's going to get in, but I've never felt like we've acknowledged enough the significance of those transgressions. And oddly, I would think if you're another team and you play by the rules, in that regard at least, I would think it would offend you greatly that someone was taking advantage of them to the degree that apparently Belichick was. So my guess is we've got investigative people, reporters out there who are bound and determined to identify the voters who did not vote for him. I think there's 50 total. Now, Mark Craig from the Star Tribune, the wise old owl, has written about it. It's online now, I think. And he said I think he did say he voted for him. There's limits to what you're supposed to say if you're in the room. The deliberations to a certain extent are supposed to stay private. But I think he did say he voted for him, he would have voted for him, or whatever the case may be. And he, too, laid out the speculation on what possibly could enter into it, why someone would necessarily say no. But I understand why it's an issue because he's an all-time great coach. But it's another example for me, as like I said, is that we live in a non-nuanced world in which on any subject, strong opinions are important. We all need them. But there are some subjects in which you still should be able to have strong opinions and nuance out what may have taken place or why somebody might have gone down that road without necessarily losing your mind. And there are a lot of people who are absolutely losing their minds over this thing and acting like this is the biggest travesty in the history of the Hall of Fame. Maybe it is. But I would say it would be a travesty in a more real sense, in a purer sense, if he didn't have those the Spygate thing, which you can argue is a competitive balance issue. You can say, well, that's preposterous. It's Bill Belichick. Does anybody really think he wouldn't be a good coach without it? He just sort of, he bent the rules. He went a little too far. But if a team's punished to the degree that they were punished, I think you have a right to say, I know he's going to get in, but I can't in good conscience forget about that aspect of it. And again, there were some jackals. I remember us talking about it at the time. There were jackals who were, their basic moral was, he's getting off easy, or the team's getting off easy, or why don't we spend more time on what this represents? And that's the funny thing about it now, this many years later, it's almost like, well, you're supposed to forget all of those things. Maybe some people didn't. Maybe some of the voters said, I'm never going to forget it. And if once I'm in a position where I'm voting, I know what I'm comfortable with. And I want to remind people that at least as far as we know, he did something that many other coaches didn't. Now, Jimmy Johnson said everybody did it. Maybe they did. I have actually no idea. But, I mean, I had a couple of texts earlier from people saying, look, well, hold on one second. I'll see. Dr. Phil writes, I saw today Ryan Leaf professed his no vote and came out of the woodwork about Bill Belichick. I don't even think Ryan Leaf has a vote. I don't believe Ryan Leaf is a Hall of Fame voter, because I saw this before. I'm pretty sure he is not a voter at all. In any case, as I said, I would just appeal to a little bit of sanity regarding what may have entered into this thing, that it doesn't have to be the conspiracy of the century. And I believe in the sanctity of the individual votes. If you have a vote, you can do whatever you want with it. And there was a time, I think, in the culture, we kind of accepted that. We may not have agreed with it, or may not have loved it, but we've just accepted that's the nature of voting. There are biases. There are human beings are sending these votes out or making these decisions. And it was, I don't agree with them. I think that's faulty logic. And then you go on with the rest of your life. Now we can't go on with the rest of our lives. The pitchforks will not allow that. They're looking for some form of retribution in this case. And I just, especially given we're talking about sports, but even given the reality of his history, which includes a very significant punishment. I don't remember Vince Lombardi getting punished for something like this. I don't remember George Halas being punished for something like that. Maybe I missed it. Not saying they're all choir boys, but this is pretty unique. And it happened twice. You could say the second one was more about Brady than it was anybody else. We can argue about that too, but the fact is, it was his football team. We'll pause here, and as I mentioned, we'll have a conversation with Pat Kessler. We'll get caught up on a number of A-section stories, including one scary one that broke out last night at the Ilhan Omar event. And there may be more on that story today that I'm not even aware of. We'll get a nice update. Where are we? Are things settling? A lot of words of reconciliation and understanding, but is that leading anywhere? Are there any substantive changes that we have seen to this point? All that and more with Special K. That is coming up next here in The Fan.
I wish the American media would take a great look at the views of the people in Congress and find out, are they pro-America or anti-America?
Pat Kessler.
Because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook.
You just made that up, didn't you?
I can't trust Obama. He's an Arab.
Pat Kessler.
Tear down this wall.
I did nothing wrong at the Minneapolis airport.
That's the law.
You're no Jack Kennedy.
Pat Kessler.
And now, to help Dan break down all the tough questions in politics, it's our own
Pat Kessler.
Those are two sexy men.
I feel like a supermodel, except like times 10.
It's Channel 4's
Pat Kessler.
Do you endorse throwing wieners?
on The Fan.
Questions for Special K, Pat Kessler. My latest nickname.
Oh, I cannot wait.
Not one I came up with, the one that's been come up for me, nominated for me. Dantifa. I'm Dantifa, which is actually clever.
That is that one of our listeners?
I'm tired of the Bolshevik ramblings of Dantifa.
Okay, is that one of our listeners?
One of our listeners.
Oh, that is brilliant, actually.
It is clever. Welcome back to the program. I have no idea why you're pretending to be interested in your Twins club. You got 2 layers of Twins gear on. You got kind of an outer shirt, and then you got an All-Star Game T-shirt. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's that about?
I love the Twins. What? Will you just stop it?
You mean it, you're saying.
This is the worst time of the winter.
Yeah,
this is the worst time of the winter. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, especially this winter.
Yeah, this has been brutal. And everything going on, and then the cold and all of this. And I miss baseball. Now, I could have worn my designer Minnesota Twins sports jacket, which is very, very. So maybe I'll bring it next week.
What a show off you are.
Power of the purse. That's exactly. I still, you know what I did? The price tag is still on this sport coat.
Is that a deliberate, or is that
it's deliberate?
Is that a look that
it's
a style that you like?
Well, you mean like now the kids used to leave the price tags on the baseball caps and the headgear.
Yes,
all of
yes, correct.
And then in the stickers, I leave the stickers on. Back in the day, this is even before my time, and I'm 80-something, Minnie Pearl used to actually, she was a, look it up, kids, Grand Ole Opry.
What a great reference.
Yeah, Grand Ole Opry. She wore a straw hat with the price tag on it. Oh, people laughed. So, I miss baseball. I miss the Twins. Cannot wait for it to start.
How did you come up with, out of nowhere, Minnie Pearl? That's a great
look it up,
reference.
Kids. I miss baseball and cannot wait for it to happen.
Do you know who is 90 years old today? 90.
No, I cannot wait.
Years old, I think, today.
Yes.
Alan Alda. Oh, the actor.
Man.
MASH, obviously, a lot of other.
A lot of great movies.
Yeah. Alan Alda.
Oh, my 90. Goodness.
He played. You might be old enough to remember this. Well, you are old enough to remember this. I don't know if you do.
Plus years old.
Once upon a time, there was a writer, very effective writer, named George Plimpton.
Oh.
And Plimpton, one of his bits became, I want to write about being a quarterback, a National Football League quarterback, and here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to convince a team to let me actually participate in a football training camp for real. Like, get hit, meetings, the whole bit. And he convinced the Detroit Lions. He approached several teams. The only team that said yes to him were the Detroit Lions. And Plimpton then wrote a book about his experiences called Paper Lion. And it was turned into a motion picture. And it was Alan Alda who played the part of George Plimpton in the film. Alex Karras, the old-time great, Lions player, is in it. The coaches are in it.
Also a great actor,
he's in the meetings. Okay, he actually took some hits.
This was a long way to get to it.
Yes.
But that was a hell of a payoff. Because, Plimpton did this, and didn't he do this with other occupations as well?
He did, because after that one went so well, I think he tried golf, a couple others.
And part of this was that he wanted to play in a game.
That's true.
Right?
Yes.
And so he was going to be the quarterback in a game. Now, our great listeners will let us know, but he did play in a game, did he not?
Played in a preseason game.
Yeah, okay. So
at the end of a preseason game, as I recall.
And did he get hit?
I think he did. I want to say he did get hit. I'm not sure, but it was a good film, black and white, back in the day. And I don't know that I ever read the book, but Plimpton was a very accomplished. George Plimpton was a very accomplished writer.
Alan Alda, and it's his birthday. He played him
90.
in the movie.
I had no idea. I guess it makes sense that he would be that age. He's been around for a long time.
And Alan Alda is part of our background music and part of our background film, everything. Part of the background of our life. So
there's not.
Happy birthday to Alan Alda.
Yeah, I thought it was worth at least a quick mention for sure. All right, let me get to where I got to get to your list, but I think some of these are fairly self-evident.
I don't even know why I bother making a list.
No,
not because you don't get to it, but because it changes
so fast
every single hour. We are in a really fast-paced time right now. With news happening, and it's outdated almost immediately.
All right, so give me any updates that exist regarding the Ilhan Omar event last night that turned scary. I think we now have more information about the perpetrator. We also have more information about the liquid that he was wasn't it through a syringe of some sort, like some kind of
for our listeners who aren't aware of this quite yet, because this happened last night, where Ilhan Omar was having a town hall event. Very controversial member of Congress, as we all know, here in Minnesota and nationally, in part because she has been a target of President Trump's ire and his attacking her for many years. So some guy in the audience gets up in the middle of remarks that she's making, and he has some sort of device. It looks like, I'm not going to say a turkey baster, but it's a syringe, a plastic syringe.
Yes.
And he's squirting some liquid on her that people in the room said smelled like vinegar, later determined to be perhaps an apple-based vinegar.
Apple cider vinegar.
Apple cider vinegar.
I believe, is that what?
Yeah. And it's some dude who has been radicalized over the last few years. But when it happens, everybody's frozen in the moment, and they say, like, what the hell's happening here? And I just have to point this out. You know, the security, I don't see security moving. So you know what I see, if you look at the video?
Yes.
It's Ilhan Omar. She's going to kick the guy's ass.
Yeah, she walked over and she didn't even walk.
Ready. She lunges at the guy.
Right.
And with a fist and
like she's going to take a punch.
Yeah, and then
or deliver a punch.
Yeah, deliver a punch is what it looked like. So they take the guy down. He has been arrested, and these are very serious charges of attacks against a member of Congress and elected official. And so it turns out that we're learning more about it. I'm going to try to pronounce his name: Anthony Kazmierczak, 55 years old. She was speaking at. He's the one who did this, and people are now looking into his background. He's been for years posting online about his anger at Democrats, and he had told neighbors that he might be arrested. Unfortunately, the same night, just an hour earlier, President Trump, speaking in Iowa, had again leveled charges against Ilhan Omar, who he's been calling, and Somalis associated with her calling her garbage, and that she ought to be taken out of the country and all of this.
Kristi Noem, a couple of days ago, one of the first briefing she gave after the shooting, I believe, one of the first, where she actually took questions, she brought up the name Ilhan Omar and basically said, part of what we're in Minneapolis for is to investigate the possibility that a woman who came with very little money now is worth whatever, millions of dollars. So the obsession with her has been consistent and dramatic, and it not just the president. She had brought that up out of nowhere, sometime, and maybe not today, but someday, I think we should discuss why ICE is here, why the law enforcement are in the streets, why we have unmarked vans and all of that. Yeah. But part of it is because the president wants to investigate fraud of our government programs here, which is a very, very big deal. Right. We all agree. We've talked about that, even though the people who are best qualified and we're doing so effectively are all gone now in protest. That's the irony, is you actually took away your best weapons to continue to uncover whatever remaining fraud.
Well, that's why ICE first came here, to investigate the fraud, the program fraud that caused Governor Walz to drop out of the re-election race. Yeah. And he wanted to investigate Somalis. Anyway, so this guy has now been apparently radicalized. And, we've talked about, we've been critical of Ilhan Omar on this show for many years about some of the things that she has said and done. When President Trump was told about the attack on her, he now says that he said, what the hell? I think she staged this attack for somebody to attack her so she could get sympathy, something like that. So anyway, this is a serious thing. We have a member of Congress in our state who was attacked, guy's arrested, facing some serious stuff. And apparently, it's not harmful stuff. Everybody's okay, but
well, here's my question, and I don't know what went into the thinking at the time. I honestly, I think would tell you that if somebody, jettisoned some liquid like that onto me, I'm as much as I want to stay to basically say we're not going to let the terrorists win, I'd want to go to a restroom. Take the shirt, figure out, what if it's something more significant? Now, maybe they were able to figure out right away on the basis
immediately.
The smell that, okay, it's just apple cider vinegar. I don't know. But that's the part that surprised me.
I worry about that all the time.
Of course. In her mind, I'm sure it was, I don't want to walk out of here now because for me, that's sending the wrong message. I want to stand tall. I don't want to act like I'm in fear. But I would say, again, the liquid in this case turns out to be pretty innocuous, but how do you know until you know?
You don't. And she stayed for 30 minutes to keep talking because she said she would not be bullied. So give her some cred points on that. But this, again, raises issues about the safety of members of Congress and the president who's had two attempts on his life. I mean, this is crazy stuff that we're dealing with here. Again, to her credit, she is one of the very few members of Congress, including members of Congress here in Minnesota, who hold town hall events where people can actually come and ask questions. But they're so performative now that do they even matter? So, that's just one of the things that happened today in the course of all of these crazy events in the Twin Cities.
We had what I guess ostensibly appeared to be a softening of rhetoric for a brief period in which the president was a lot less, shall we say, aggressive and confrontational in terms of his language compared to all the people who worked for him, including the aforementioned Kristi Noem. And then we had allegedly a good conversation, according to both parties, between the president and the governor.
Very hopeful.
And then your guy comes to town to take over.
My guy, Tom Homan.
Exactly.
Big fan.
And he then allegedly has a meeting with the governor in which we have differences, but we had a good conversation, and we'll see where this thing's going to go. All that stuff, I think, welcome relief if it's going to lead to anything. So, do we have any signs that it is going to lead to any sort of fundamental, concrete meeting of the minds that makes it less likely that tonight, tomorrow, the next day, there's going to be another confrontation, and God forbid, hopefully that does not turn violent?
I was very encouraged, actually, that both sides seemed to tone down the rhetoric, and President Trump was willing to say, we got to Governor Walz, we got to lower the temperature here. And Governor Walz, to his credit, agreed. And both of them showed, I thought, some restraint and some humility on Monday. And in fact, by switching stuff around here, by taking out Greg Bovino, the guy who was the law enforcement chief for the Border Patrol here, who was the face of all of the stuff happening here, sidelines him. He's out of the state now. Tom Homan comes in, who's a lot more traditional law and order type. So all of that was, I think, really good signs. There's a couple of brush fires today that we're still not sure, though. Mayor Fry, Jacob Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, tweeted out that Minneapolis does not and will not enforce federal immigration laws. Well, that irritated President Trump, who said, he's breaking the law. Somebody tell him he's in very serious violation. Stop playing with fire. That kind of thing. Meanwhile, The Attorney General, Pam Bondi, lands in Minnesota today, and they're doing a lot of different things with some of the protesters. Okay. She's here,
right,
and was there for the arraignment of a dozen protesters arrested in Maple Grove a couple of nights ago.
Oh, this was the damage done at the hotel.
The noise protest is what they called it, and for the Attorney General, who does not want her agents to be doxxed, publishes the names and photographs of all of the protesters and says they're rioters. So I don't know where it's going. We don't know exactly how we're going to tell if the temperature's actually lowered here. What are we looking for?
Well, let me ask you this question. Are any reporters on the ground detecting any ice activity the last couple days? Because my assumption is, if there is, we're going to generally know about it because there's going to be certainly protesters who find it and or reporters who also find it. So do we know the answer to that question?
Yes, there is ice activity on the ground.
Right.
And the Attorney General Bondi says we're not going to let up on our search for illegal or undocumented people here in the United States. So yes, there is some of that, and that's something that we really need to see. Is that the evidence we're looking for?
Right.
Or is it with Tom Homan, who does have, he's controversial, but he does have the respect of law enforcement. So is it going to be toned down? So it's not performative the way that with Kristi Noem and Bovino and Stephen Miller it has been, where you have mass deportations with people in masks and unmarked vehicles and wearing war Afghanistan gear with rifles, piling out of vehicles and rounding people up. That is where I think we're going to see that not happening again or as much. Holman is more of a targeted approach, not the mass round them up approach,
right,
but more of a targeted approach where they know who they're looking for. They're going to target that. They're going to do it at different times of the day and night. They're not going to roll up with cameras rolling for social media. That's what I think is going to be the biggest difference. But so far, we haven't seen a lot of that. I do want to say one other thing, that the president said that they were going to try to lower the temperature. Well, one of the things that we discovered today, the reports now are that they are investigating, put on leave, the two agents, the law enforcement agents, who reportedly
were the ones who shot
and killed this protester, Alex Preddy, with 10 shots. We don't know who they are. We don't know their names, but apparently the Department of Homeland Security has put them on leave, and there is some sort of investigation, not the kind of law enforcement investigation that we are accustomed to, and the FBI is not involved in this investigation, or the Minnesota BCA. So we still don't know the outcome of that.
What do you make of? And I have not read. There's a Star Tribune story. There's a lot of versions of this story. I'll read the Star Tribune version. This is via Liz Sawyer, I believe. Alex Preddy, the intensive care nurse killed by federal agents last weekend, was swarmed and tackled by officers in another encounter 11 days earlier, according to footage obtained by the Minnesota Star Tribune, captured on bystander video Jan 13 amid a crowd of whistleblowing observers cursing immigration agents as an unmarked convoy swarmed a South Minneapolis street corner. A spokesman for the family and the family's attorney have verified that the man seen in the video is Preddy. He stands in the crosswalk, flips the middle finger of both hands towards an SUV carrying officers clad in tactical gear. One jumped out of the black passenger seat, charged toward him, grabbing him by the jacket, tackling him as other agents piled on, according to the footage. He slips away for about 25 seconds. Officers retreated moments later without bringing him into custody. So apparently that is the same
adds
individual.
More details to the story of who this man is, the man who was killed by federal agents in the protest this past Saturday that has, I think it's fair to say, enraged the nation. So he was involved in previous protests, at least one, and you mentioned the video that the Star Tribune is using. So he was confronting some of the law enforcement, some of the ICE agents. CNN is reporting that in a previous scuffle that he suffered a broken rib after 5 agents tackled him. So it adds a lot more nuance to the story of why he was at this event on Saturday. So he had been, apparently to family and friends, he had been telling family and friends for a number of weeks, but particularly after the Renee Good shooting and killing, that he needed to get involved more. And that's what he was doing. But this was pretty aggressive stuff that we're seeing on some of the videos.
Do we
on both sides, not just him, but
yes,
with the law enforcement.
Do we have any confirmation that the BCA that whatever the feds have regarding crime scene stuff from the Preddy shooting, etc., that is now being shared? We know that's what it was supposed to happen. I saw a video at some point of BCA folks around the crime scene later. But do we know for sure that there is any meaningful cooperation between the two sides as the BCA has and the state has demanded?
Well, I'm glad you're asking that, because that would be another signal that the temperature is going down and everybody's going to be involved and we're all going to work together. But that's not happening. Unless that has happened in the last few hours when I've been here, the BCA does not yet have access to all of the forensic evidence, not just with Alex Preddy, but also with Renee Good. And that includes pretty basic stuff. We're talking about the car, the clothing that the victims were wearing, the shell casings, all of this kind of thing that would normally be in an investigation. As we know, the Minnesota law enforcement authorities, the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, was barred, was stopped, was not allowed to go to the crime scene, to enter the crime scene. They were barred by the ICE agents who were there on the scene. We don't know what they did, what kind of evidence they collected at the scene with Alex Preddy. All we know is that the BCA was not allowed. I do have a question, and perhaps some of our listeners could answer it. I mean, what good is it when you're there hours or days after and you're on the crime scene that has been trampled?
Been lost, and exactly.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? So no, the short answer is no. I don't believe that we have full access to any of that stuff yet. And until we do, I think the state authorities will not be satisfied that there is cooperation, that the presence of ICE is going to lessen, decrease here. We don't know any of that yet, and so far we haven't seen it.
A couple people have texted, and there's a million versions of what allegedly Preddy was involved in. This was 11 days prior. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
That it appears that he also kicks out a taillight or attempts to kick a taillight. Do you have that detail as well? I don't see it in the Star Tribune story, but I do see it elsewhere. Which everything should be included. Whatever I want to know what happened. We want to know all the facts. Speculating. So if that's part of the story, we're not running from it.
All of the facts.
Well, allegedly, yeah.
We should.
Yes.
We should. I strongly believe
we should.
That our law enforcement people should have all of that, and not just the Department of Homeland Security investigating itself. I would be thrilled if the FBI was involved in it.
Well, the FBI should be involved.
Absolutely.
But, even your guy, who's the old Bill O'Reilly, has called out your guy Patel, saying, "Where the hell has the FBI been? You cannot have Homeland Security investigate Homeland Security or ICE. No one." Is going to believe in the credibility of the investigation.
Well, it's serious enough that there is a federal judge here in Minnesota that has ordered the federal government to preserve all of the evidence, fearing that some of it may be destroyed, quote unquote, lost, or we will never have access to it. So this will play out for a long time. But yeah, we don't have access to a lot of stuff. So when you go down the list, we're happy that the president and the governor of the state are lowering the temperature, but there's no evidence that there's any change.
Yeah,
no evidence yet.
That's the key to this whole thing. Let's make this top of the hour pause. More with Pat Kessler, and then we'll wrap things up at 6:30 this evening. What do we have tonight? By the way, have any sports on tonight? Oh, the Wolves.
There's
I'm
Wolves
assuming.
that'll be on the Timberwolves channel. Border Battle, Go for Basketball, Wild Weekly. We got a bunch of stuff.
Oh, we got a bunch of stuff. And you know the beauty of it is it's all available to you via the free, I know Kessler has it, iHeartRadio app.
Fan.
Grab your crew. Join us for a Michelob Ultra Wolves watch party. That's tonight. Rosemont Legion. You can catch the action with Maxo. Max Fuller, 7:30 to 9:30. Trivia, prizes, specials. Get all the details, KFAN.com. Keep your calendar.
This latest shooting has many tentacles and can be analyzed and viewed on a number of levels as well. But there is always a political side. Maybe there is no way to separate the politics from the rest of it. But when it comes to, let's just say, the current face of Minnesota politics, sometimes it's hard to see the forest for the trees because we're not that many days removed. But is it changing or creating change in Minnesota politics? What's the early evidence to say if it's changing it and how it's changing it on a number of fronts, even including who runs for what?
Yeah, this has, I do believe, changed Minnesota politics just because of the spontaneous kind of from the bottom up protests in the state of Minnesota over the last few weeks and the last month. This is the kind of political story that somehow gets past everybody that, you've got all these different platforms that we're looking at. We're all consumed with other things. But this has broken through. This is a story that has broken through not just in Minnesota, but around the country and even around the world. The shootings and killings of these two protesters. And the response from Minnesota has been unbelievable. The way that people have come together to try to protect immigrants, to try to protest what's happening, to try to show people what's happening. This is the first place where that's ever happened. And it's the first place, I think, and we don't know for sure yet, where President Trump and the immigration stuff that he's been doing is being shown in a very, very, very bad light. The polling I've seen nationally shows that the president, on the one issue, immigration, that he was way far ahead. People are very, very concerned. They're upset. They're outraged. The national polls show that voters are horrified by all the violence here. They strongly oppose the tactics. This could change things in this country. You and I have talked for a long time. President Trump deserves credit, tremendous credit, for what he did to stop undocumented immigrants from coming across the country or the border. He shut it down, and it's almost zero now. And I don't know why he didn't take the win and move on to something else, but that's the way it is. But here in Minnesota, it has also changed things, where we were nationally the laughingstock of the country because of the incredible amount of fraud that has been documented and is still in the pipeline. $250 million of fraud just from one program here in the state of Minnesota, and it could be in the billions, and that's gone. Who's paying attention to that? Governor Walz dropped out of the race. Remember that part? Because of that. So that has changed things dramatically. The one person that I thought in the Republican Party who could actually address it honorably and independently is the guy you had on the air yesterday, Chris Mattel, a Minneapolis attorney who kind of plays, he's appeals to independents, some Republicans, some Democrats. He dropped out of the race. So who's left in the race for Republicans? Who is going to be a strong candidate for Republicans? So that's been affected. Amy Klobuchar is still not in the race, and we're only days away from the beginning of the electoral process for Democrats.
When are we going to get the official declaration?
What time is it? It's got to be soon.
Yeah.
And I think...
has she been waiting because trying to create some distance between this latest tragedy? Is that what this is about?
That's a great question. I from some of the people that I've been corresponding with, she's been kind of hanging back because she has been working behind the scenes to try to figure out a way to lower the temperature.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are.
And so, we have people, even though they're saying some things publicly, including Governor Walz and some Republicans, they're trying to figure out a way to make this better in the state of Minnesota. And Amy Klobuchar behind the scenes has been doing that, working with, in particular, some reporting that I've seen is with Susie Wiles, the chief of staff, with whom she has a relationship where she has been working with her on other items over the last year or so. So, that is one of the reasons, but I do believe it's going to come very, very soon, where it has to be within the next few days, the next week, where Amy Klobuchar is going to have to put her hat in the ring or not, and I do believe she's going to do it. And that's a very formidable candidate for Republicans once again. Are
you familiar with Republican Senator Tom Tillis? I think he's out of North Carolina.
Yes.
This exchange, I think, might have been from earlier today. A reporter found him and said, the president called you a loser. And Tillis's response was, I am thrilled about that. That makes me qualified to be Homeland Security Secretary and senior advisor to the president. Now, it's a hell of a gotcha line. The more serious question is, we are hearing, not a majority of, but more Republicans, national Republicans, elected to office, who seem to be getting at least braver about firing back and not worrying. Because that's inviting a full-scale verbal attack from the president, right? So does this mean he's starting to lose a little bit of his hold? Does this mean that there's enough Republicans moving forward? Because a bunch of them have, not a bunch, but several have asked pretty direct questions since the Saturday tragedy. And so the question is, does this lead to anything that might be classified as meaningful momentum that might eventually catch up with the president?
Couple of things about that. Tom Tillis has announced he's not running for re-election, so he's got no blanks left to give. But he has always been pushing against the president gently, but he has done that in the past. He is going to be a key vote for the financing and funding of the U.S. government, and it's going to the funding of ICE, actually, and Homeland Security over the next few days. Here's the thing. If you have more and more Republicans, you've even got Ted Cruz out there saying this is not a good look. You've got Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins of Maine. You've got Rand Paul. You've got a number of really solid conservative, even libertarian types in the Republican Party who are very, very concerned about the optics of this and the actions of this, is this who we are? So I think, yes, behind the scenes, you're getting a pretty strong pushback, and the president's poll numbers are dropping rapidly, and that will always affect it. But so, you're going to start seeing it. And in the next few days, the Democrats say they're going to shut down the government by not voting to fund the government if ICE isn't changed. And I'm not saying abolished. They've already made the mistake of doing that once before. But some changes in ICE, like, are you going to wear masks? Are you going to ride in unmarked vehicles? Is it going to be illegal for you to take videos and make video game type things and post it online? Those are the kinds of things that could change. But I'm not optimistic about anything at this point.
Hard to be at this point.
Yep.
We will chat next week. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Good luck to us all.
Pat Kessler. 5, 6, and 10 o'clock on Channel 4, at least for many, many, many years. We'll come back and wrap up a very busy and controversial program. Remind you of a Thursday show that should be a blockbuster. Stay tuned.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
It's brought to you by American Pressure.
How much time we got? I hope I have time to read this. I'm going to try to go through it. We were talking about Alan Alda. Alan Alda was forgetting who he used to be, so Mike Farrell brought Hawkeye back. One last ride at dawn. Alan Alda was forgetting things. Not big things, small things. The small things that make a life feel like your own. January 2026, Los Angeles. Alan Alda was 89 years old. In 8 days, he would turn 90. The man who once was Hawkeye Pierce, sharp, fast, fearless, now lived behind a quiet fog. Parkinson's had taken so much. First his hands. The hands that performed surgery on MASH for 11 years, now trembling. Then his walk. Once confident, now careful, measured, afraid. And now his memories. Not gone, just fading. Like old photographs left in the sun, still there but harder to feel. Mike Farrell came anyway, every week for 5 years, because that's what B.J. Honeycutt would do. And that's what Mike Farrell did. He found Alan in the living room, sitting in his favorite chair, holding something, a photograph. Alan's fingers traced it slowly again and again, like it might disappear if he let go. Mike leaned in, and his chest tightened. It was them, 1983, the final episode of MASH. Goodbye, farewell, and amen. BJ on the motorcycle, Hawkeye behind him, smiling. The last ride out of the war. Hey, Alan. Confusion first, then recognition. Mike. A small smile, but real. You came. I always come. Alan lifted the photo. I remember this. You do? The cameras, the crew, the bike. He paused, searching. Then his voice broke. But I don't remember how it felt. I remember it happened, Alan said, but I don't remember the wind, the freedom. He looked at Mike. I've lost the feeling. Tears followed. I'm losing myself, Mike. Mike held his trembling hand. You're still here. Not to me, Alan whispered. I forgot Arlene's birthday, 68 years. I forgot. Silence, the kind that hurts. That night, Mike couldn't sleep. I don't remember how it felt. The words wouldn't let him rest. 3 a.m., Mike stood in his garage, under a dusty tarp, a motorcycle, untouched for years, because every time he saw it, he saw Alan. 1983, the last ride. He cleaned, polished, checked the engine. His body ached, but his heart didn't care. 5:30 a.m., Alan Alda's driveway. Dark, quiet. Then, Hawkeye. Mike's voice cut through the dawn. You're too slow. Lights snapped on. Arlene appeared. Then Alan did. Confused until he saw Mike on the motorcycle. And then a smile. Big, real, alive. BJ, you're crazy. I know. 15 minutes. Stairs. Slow steps. Careful hands. Alan insisted. I need this. They helped him on, just like in 1983. Ready? Ready. They rode slowly, carefully. 2 old men at sunrise. Alan held on tight, not like before, not casual, like this mattered. Like this might be everything. Mike, Alan said softly, face against his back. I remember now. Remember what? How it feels. Wind, movement, freedom. For 1 hour, Hawkeye was back. When they returned, Arlene was crying. Alan's eyes were clear. I remembered, he said. And that night, Alan slept holding the photograph. And beside it, a new one. 2026. Same pose, same smiles, older men. Still together. Man, that's just, and it is accompanied by a couple photos. Back then, in the last episode on the motorcycle, in the last episode of MASH, and then next to it, the photo of the two of them reunited all those years later. Alan Alda, his right arm around the chest, near the neck of his good friend BJ. What a tremendous piece of writing, and what a great story, I think, to wrap up this program. All precipitated by the news that I mentioned to Kessler that Alan Alda has just turned 90 years old. I did not know that he was fighting all those things that he was fighting. But an absolutely terrific story. I found it via Twitter, via a handle called Mr. Pitbull. Great irony there. Nothing pit bullish about the beauty, just the sweetness of that story that he lays out about the friendship between two individuals from one of the most iconic television shows in the history of American television. I want to thank Kessler, who joined at 5:30. I also want to thank Kevin Seifert, who joined in studio at 3:30 as well. We think Guardsy's back tomorrow. We hope Sean Salisbury will be part of the festivities tomorrow, and we're working on some other things as well. Fan and the Man in the Air is coming up. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Timberwolves on the Timberwolves channel.
Yes.
And a lot of stuff. So just hit the iHeartRadio app and pick any of our channels, and you'll find something, I think, to your interest the rest of the evening. Thanks for watching today. Thank you for listening. And we will talk to you tomorrow beginning at 3.
Sayonara, suckers!